So there we go. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome
What's
to another
happening?
edition of the Brothers of Legacy.
What's going down?
Whew. I pray all
What?
in everybody's world.
Yeah.
This
What's
is
going down in the hood?
an awesome broadcast as always. We thank you guys for rocking with us. We are going through some changes and things of that nature, so just stay tuned.
For sure.
No big announcements yet,
For sure.
but there will be soon. Soon we'll talk about that. But like always, make sure you know the first thing to do. Make sure you share. Oh, great
Oh,
morning, Mama
Mama
Corey.
McCoy was in
Yo,
here first.
Lisa in the building. Great morning to you guys.
Lisa,
Make
Lisa,
sure you
Lisa,
share.
Lisa.
Huh?
I was saying Lisa, Lisa, Lisa. I was singing. Kind of. How you doing? Pearl Hoo Queen in the building. Hey, Mama.
Oh, Perry Hoop Queen in the building.
Miss Pharrell's in the house.
I'm supposed to go.
Pastor
Oh, yeah, do it all.
Brian.
Hey, Pastor.
Yeah,
in the
man.
Great morning.
Morning.
Oh, let's turn this down. All right. So as always, this is your opportunity to share. Sharing is caring. Sharing
It is.
All right.
It is.
So this is
Ain't no
your moment to walk away for a second while we do our intro, and we'll be right back.
I didn't want to catch
Good
that.
morning,
Good
good
morning.
morning,
Good morning.
good morning.
Welcome to another edition of
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, everybody?
Now will you look at that? Did you catch it, Pastor Brian?
I did not.
do
The
it.
new?
Yeah. He done changed the music. He done changed it. But boy, you the man. That's why you the manager and I'm not. Yes, he's Shark Tale.
All right. All right. So today I'm getting the echo.
Oh, it's probably I don't know why it's the echo. I got my phone. I'm not on the broadcast on my phone, so
So today, all right, good. Today we're talking about different biases and cognitive biases that we've had and that we hold on to. And I found this very interesting YouTube that broke down at least 12 of them. I'm sure there's more, but it's real interesting. So I want my brothers to kind of watch this and kind of see if your mind has been in this place, at some point or even now that you kind of struggle with as far as a cognitive bias. And, not all biases are bad because sometimes they're like a defense to make you think about certain things and put them in particular categories. But at the same time, sometimes sticking to these biases too long can shape the wrong decision. All right, so let's do this. Bam. Bam. Let me know if you guys can hear it.
Hey guys, Practical Psychology here, and in this video we're going to be talking about 12 cognitive biases. Most of these were researched by Ismanoff TV, who has some great animations on topics like these and other self-development topics, so check them out in the description or on the end screen. Now let's get into it. Number one is anchoring bias. We humans usually completely rely on the first information that we received, no matter how reliable that piece of information is, when we take decisions. The very first information has tremendous effect on our brain. For instance, I want to sell you a car, and you are interested to buy it. Let's say you ask me what the price is and I tell you $30,000. Now, if you come back a week later and I say I'll sell it to you for $20,000, this seems like a new, very cheap price to you, right? Because your judgment is based on the initial information you got, which was $30,000. You feel like you're getting a great deal. But let's say the first time that you ask me and I say $10,000, and then you come back the next week and I tell you I'm going to sell it to you for $20,000. Now it doesn't look like a very good deal because of the anchoring bias. This is just a very generic use of the anchoring bias, and I don't want a bunch of comments about why a $30,000 car should be sold for $10,000, but another example is trees. What if I asked you if the tallest tree in the world was higher or lower than 1,200 feet? And if so, how tall? The same effect occurs if I ask you to guess out of thin air instead of giving you an anchor of 1,200 feet. The results are crazy. Number two, availability heuristic bias. People overestimate the importance of information that they have. Let me give you an example here. Some people think that terrorism is the biggest threat to the United States because that's what they see on TV. The news always talks about it, and because of that, it inflates the danger. But if you look at the real perspectives, televisions cause 55 times more deaths than terrorism. Yes, TVs literally fall on people and kill them 55 more times than terrorism. You are more likely to be killed by a cow than a terrorist, according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission. It's more likely to die from a coconut falling on your head and killing you than a terrorist attack. Thank you, Gary Vaynerchuk, for that one. Even the police that are hired to protect you from terrorists, it's estimated that you are 130 times more likely to be killed by the police than by a terrorist. That's because people do not make their decision based on facts and statistics, but usually they make it on news and stories and stuff they hear from other people. It's way scarier to die from a terrorist attack than a falling coconut. And because of this, usually the news won't cover it because there's not much money in it. Number 3 is the bandwagon effect. People do or believe in something not because they actually do believe it, but because that's what the rest of the world believes in. In other words, following the rest without thinking. If you've ever heard someone say, well, if your friends jump off a bridge, would you? Then that someone is accusing you of the bandwagon effect. It happens a lot with us. I mean, a lot of people vote for a certain candidate in the election because he's the most popular, or because they want to be part of the majority. It happens a lot in the stock market too. If someone starts buying a stock because they think it's going to rise, then a lot of other people are going to start picking the stock as well. It can also happen during meetings. If everyone agrees on something, you are more likely to agree with them on that object. In management, the opposite of this is called groupthink, and it's something companies try very hard to deter. Because if 9 out of 10 people agree on something, but the last person doesn't and won't speak up, it could squelch a great idea. Number 4 is choice supportive bias. So people have the tendency to defend themselves because it was their choice. Just because I made the choice, it must be right. For example, let's say a person buys an Apple product. Let's say it's a MacBook instead of a Windows PC. Well, he's more likely to ignore the downsides or the faults of the Apple computer while pointing out the downsides of the PC. He is more likely to notice the advantages of the Apple computer, not the Windows computer. Why would someone point out that they made a bad decision? Well, let's say you have a dog. You think it's awesome because it's your dog, although it might poop on the floor every now and then. The same goes for political candidates. Not the pooping part, but they both may suck. But one of the lesser of two evils may be more right in your mind because you voted for them. Number 5, confirmation bias. We tend to listen to information that confirms what we already know, or even interpret the information.
So far, right? Anchoring information, the root bias. How do you feel like? Do you see some of the biases that you've been influenced by?
Yeah, I've done all those. I've done at least once in my life. I've done that. Especially the bandwagon. What's up, Cole? The bandwagon one I've done. What was the one with, like, I buy an Apple product and I tell everybody it's my Apple, Apple product. What's that one? The assumptive.
That was the. Hold on. That's the choice supportive bias.
Oh yeah. So that's the whole Android Apple thing, and people join the dark side. Get your Apple. Why would you get an Apple for? Like, people.
I mean, for me, I tell people both suck. I said I'm just with Apple because I've been with them. I don't, I don't necessarily support it. I can just tell you what I like about it. I was like the Android Apple, but recent years I've just started hating Apple more and more. But I feel like I'm sort of with it because
and so for me, it's in reverse. I hate it. Right. I'm learning to hate Android, and I worked for Samsung for the longest, but I hate Android now. It's like, I hate Android. but why do I hate Android though? Why do I hate Samsung? I hate Samsung because they fired me. Right. I mean, it ain't do with the product. Nothing.
You the negative review person that's just mad.
Yeah, I'm the one that's gonna Yelp it. Yeah,
right. Because you can say I used to work there and I hate it, and people will go off of the fact that you must be an expert. So
right. Exactly. Ooh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Right. That's good.
Yeah, that would be my aim too. Right. I'll do that just for that, though.
Right. No. What about that anchoring bias? Do you guys feel like that first piece of information you kind of hold on to, even though when someone gives you something different, you're just like, no, this is what I've always held on to.
Yes.
It's kind of like Pastor tells a story about the was it the ham, always cutting the ham or the chicken in half. You know,
I never gave it. I never gave the bird a name. I just said the bird.
bird, yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
stick in the oven, you know, and they do it for years, and you realize it's
The grandmother, the great grandmother only did it because the pan was too small.
right, right,
Mm,
right.
Yeah.
And everybody thought it was a thing for the cooking, but no, it's just the size. You don't have to work that hard to cut it in half anymore.
right.
All right, so there's a few more, but I just wanted to dive into it right now.
You think it's awesome because it's your dog, although it might poop on the floor every now and then. The same goes for political candidates. Not the pooping part, but they both may suck. But one of lesser of two evils may be more right in your mind because you voted for them.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, confirmation bias. We tend to listen to information that confirms what we already know, or even interpret the information that we receive in a way that confirms the current information that we already have. Let's say that your friend believes that sweets are unhealthy. This is generally a pretty broad belief. He will only focus on the information that confirms what we already know. He is more likely to click on videos that confirm that belief or read articles that support his argument. He doesn't go through and type positive health effects of increasing blood glucose levels or positive effects of eating a bowl of ice cream. No, he will instinctively go to Google and type in how bad is sugar for you. The confirmation bias is very dangerous in scientific situations and is actually one of the most widely committed cognitive biases. Number 6, the ostrich bias. This is the decision, or rather subconscious decision, to ignore the negative information. It may also be an indication we only want to consider the positive aspects of something. This goes beyond not only looking for the positive information, but this is when there is negative information and we choose to ignore it as an outlier. Sometimes
We do that a lot, the ostrich bias, or we see that people that don't really want to see the truth of what's happening.
Yeah. That's what's going on in the world now. Sure. Everybody got that in.
He said the pooping part with the politicians.
Yes.
All right, let's go.
even when we have a problem, we try to ignore it thinking it will go away. Let's say you have an assignment to do. It's not something that you really want to do, so you may just keep on procrastinating with it because your mind thinks that it will go away or it is solved by ignoring it. Smokers usually, they know it's bad for their health, but a lot of them keep ignoring the negative implications of cigarettes, thinking it will not damage them or might stop them before anything serious will happen because they consider themselves an outlier. To avoid finding out negative information, we just stop looking for it. Now, this could be a serious crime in many scientific
Right there. You stop looking for it.
Yeah.
Stop paying attention to it. I think we have people until something tragic happens or gentrification happens. Sometimes we don't pay attention to it till it's in our face. But like pastors always say, the other side is always playing the long game, and we're always kind of reactive to things.
Corona's not real until you catch it.
Right. Right. Ooh, let that sizzle.
research laboratories and basically promotes ignorance. Number 7, outcome bias. We tend to judge the efficacy of a decision based primarily on how things turn out. After a decision is made, we rarely examine the conditions that existed at the time of the decision, choosing instead to evaluate performance solely or mostly on whether the end result was positive or not. In other words, you decide whether an action is right or wrong based on the outcome. This goes a little bit into consequentialism, but it goes hand in hand with the hindsight bias. Let's say there's a manager who wants to take the decision. His team and the data are telling him to make one decision, but his gut is telling him to make another decision. Well, he goes ahead and makes the decision that his gut told him to do. And then in the end, it was the right decision. Does that mean it's actually better to trust your gut rather than listen to your team who is advising you based on facts and statistics? Well, that's what the outcome bias is. You take the decision and base the effectiveness of your decision on the outcome, even if it was luck.
Right.
Now, this is bad logical thinking and will actually lead you to ruined thinking and bad outcomes in the long run. Number 8, overconfidence. Sometimes you get too confident and start taking decisions not based on facts, but based on your opinion or gut because you have been correct so many times in the past. For example, you are a stock trader and you pick 5 stocks, and in a couple years, all of them turn out to be successful or profitable. It increases your confidence to a point to where you can start believing that whatever stock you pick will be successful. It's quite dangerous because you might stop looking at the facts and solely rely on your opinion. Check out the gambler's fallacy if you want more information on this. Just because you flipped a coin 5 times and it landed on heads doesn't mean that the next time there's more than a 50% chance of it landing on a head again. Ego is the Enemy. It's a great book about this bias, and I just made a book review on it. Number 9, placebo bias. When you believe something will have a certain effect on you, then it will actually cause that effect. For instance, you are sick and the doctor gives you a certain medicine. Even if that medicine does not actually help you, even if it's just made of sugar,
Right.
you believe that it will
Right,
help you,
cool.
and it actually causes you to recover quicker. This might not sound very logical, but dozens of experiments have proven this. That's why, if you realize positive people usually have positive life, and vice versa. The way you think is super important, and we've hit on this in previous videos. For the same reason, a lot of personal development books say that if you really believe something, you will eventually achieve it, or at least find a way to achieve it. Because the placebo effect will give you the motivation that you need. The mind truly is a powerful thing.
Right.
And this actually isn't always bad thinking. In fact, you can use a placebo effect in our advantage if we use it wisely. There's actually a reverse of this, and it's called the nocebo, and this is when it is negative. Number 10, survivorship bias. This bias is when you are judging something based on the surviving information. Let me give you an example here. There are a lot of articles titled like, 5 things millionaires do every morning. Does that mean doing those things every morning will make you a millionaire? No, there are tons of people who did them and didn't become a millionaire, but there are also tons of people who did them and did become a millionaire.
Right.
So these articles are primarily based on the ones who survived and reject all other people who did the same thing but did not become millionaires. Another example is to say that buildings in an ancient city were built using extreme engineering because they lasted so long. This is a bad conclusion because you aren't considering what ratio of buildings were built to how many that lasted. You're only seeing the ones that lasted thousands of years of weathering, when the other 90% have already washed away. It's hard to know what you don't know. Number 11, selective perception. I like this one.
How many
Selective
are
perception
there?
is a form of bias that causes people to perceive messages and actions according to their frame of reference. Using selective perception, people tend to overlook and forget that contradicts their beliefs or expectations. Let's say, for example, you're a smoker and you're a big fan of soccer. You are more likely to ignore all the negative advertisements about cigarettes because since you are already smoking, you have this perception that it's okay to smoke. But if there's an advertisement about soccer, you are more likely to notice it because you have a very positive perception about it. This is actually something really interesting and has to do with how you perceive the world due to your subconscious mind and what it filters out. The last one is called the blind bias. If I asked you how biased you are,
So what's up?
I'm getting a bias overload.
Okay.
How many are there? I mean,
Right.
it's you can. I mean, the reality is, you can create labels for any bias.
Right. Right.
You know, when you go, Cole Johnson, absolutely. This is marketing and influence 101.
Right.
You know, when high-end intelligence, people who operate in intelligence with top secret clearances, they go through this type of training. It all boils down to, you know, how you process information, how you receive information, body language, everything impacts your bias or can potentially impact your bias. Marketing programs, you know, there's a reason why McDonald's sells more hamburgers than anybody else.
Right.
Because they're
You
good.
think McDonald's is the best because you see McDonald's commercials more than you see anyone else's commercials, or at least that's what it was back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, and then McDonald's would put on their sign that they used to put millions, over 100 million served. Then it went to over 500 million served. Then it went to a billion served, and then went to over billions served.
So,
You know, so you think that they're number one because of the marketing strategy. So there's a bias there, and so every child wants to go to McDonald's.
That's
you know,
me as a grown man.
because everybody's in love with Ronald McDonald, and it is absolutely the worst hamburger you can buy on the market.
Lies.
You say lies, but you just admitted that all you've been taken in by all these biases.
Oh, yeah.
I worked at McDonald's, and I will tell you, I worked at McDonald's. My wife worked at Burger King. You can clearly see the difference between a Burger King beef patty, and a McDonald's beef patty. You break a McDonald's beef patty, it literally looks like layers of cardboard.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Okay. I know. I used to sear those burgers. Okay.
Yeah.
I used to eat the quarter pounder with cheese like it was nobody's business. And I will tell you, and not because, and I'm saying, I don't say this because I worked there. I say this because I worked there and I investigated. I researched it. You know, I don't eat beef anymore. I haven't eaten beef in 30 years. I'm not saying that I eat everything right, but the things that I learned while working taught me a lot, you know, and you know that there's different grades of beef. I promise you, McDonald's is at the bottom.
Yeah. It tastes so good, though. I'm sorry. But I feel you, though. Apple said, what about chicken?
What about chicken? Yes, he does chicken.
Yeah, but guess what?
Yeah.
Ask yourself why people of color eat more chicken than anyone else.
I don't know. It's a glitch in the matrix. Why? I don't know. I never asked that.
Because it was the cheapest meat. It was always available. You never ran out of chickens in the yard.
I got you.
Oh.
I got you. I mean, I got you. I mean, some countries struggle with chicken.
Why do we love chitlins? Why do black people eat chitlins?
I mean, yeah, because what they had, it was the scraps. It was what
Right.
was from the pig. So like,
yeah, and if Big Mama cook chitlins, everybody comes over to eat chitlins. Oh, Big Mama making a pot of chitlins. We're gonna go get.
Yeah, turn it down.
But nobody understands why. Why do black folks love pig feet?
I never wondered. I never thought about that.
What's up, Dwayne?
Yeah, because the slave owners they got everything that the slave owners didn't eat.
Right.
They got the leftovers, the stuff that was left on the table after you chopped it up.
Yeah, I agree. Never, chitlins. Yeah.
Those are biases.
Right.
Do you all know that Donald Trump in 1986 said that he is pro-choice?
What up?
Yes.
Morning, Dwayne.
Yep.
You remember that?
Yep. Most of his
He
views.
said he's pro-choice. He said he hates abortion, but he's absolutely pro-choice. He believes that every woman has the right to choose. And yet, the whole impetus behind this next nomination is to overturn Roe versus Wade.
Right. I don't know what you
I don't have chicken. I know, we'll go find him.
Right. Right. But I think it's crazy. Like sometimes I'll be looking at the other Trump. I was like, that dude seemed a little better than this dude now. Like it almost seemed like it was two different Trumps. I'm talking about yeah. No, I'm talking about the young Trump and the old Trump. I mean, the young Trump also put out an ad for the Central Park. Was it Central Park 5? I think it was. And so
when he was on Oprah.
Yeah. Culture and financial wealth dictate food choices. Yeah, it does as well. Trump was a Democrat, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, everybody knows that story. Trump said, if I ever ran for office, I'd run as a Republican because you can tell them anything. You can plant any bias inside of the Republican Party.
I think we all are subject, based on the information around us, the people we have, the things we read, how we influence, and then sometimes even when you're following, and I guess I hate the word following, but when you're consistently listening to somebody or one particular speaker or one particular show, they can kind of sometimes they can kind of shape your bias if you buy into everything, without stepping back. Because sometimes some people say certain things, you gotta step back like, I don't know if I totally agree with that one. If you're constantly listening to somebody and you can't eat everything that somebody says, you got to kind of listen, with an objective ear and understand. Yeah, right. Now they're exonerated 5. Right.
For those who believe that they're innocent, there are still people who believe they were guilty.
Right.
Or had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Because of bias. Because those are the ones who were convicted. There are people that will take their guilt all the way to the grave.
Right.
To prove the point.
And if to jump on that, to piggyback up what Pastor Brown said, if you guys have not seen, don't know who we're talking about, if you've never seen the movie on Netflix, I don't know if it's still there or not, but it's called When They See Us. If you haven't seen it yet, you really should get a chance to see it. And then see the Exonerated 5. Them boys went through it.
Right. A lot.
Because of bias.
Yes.
And it's crazy.
Dwayne, how's everything going, brother?
Life is okay. Rough, but okay right now. Is it just me, or is there an echo? Because I think I'm hearing 3 different times the conversation is going, and it sounds like it's all overlapping each other.
No, it's
all in your head, man. It's a bias. You heard something and you keep hearing it over and over.
That was that bias going.
No, it's my son's tablet. He's sitting right beside me, and he has his tablet playing. So he's playing while you're watching Tayo. So what you hear is probably the tablet. And so once I go mute.
Better? Go ahead, Dwayne. Is it better? Or are you still getting the echo? Uh-oh. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Oh, like, nobody's responding. Oh, all right. So, would you say we are kind of shaped a lot by? Okay, have you guys been shaped? Have those? I think we talked about this before. Have ads ever shaped your thinking? You know, like
Yeah.
seen ads that shaped your thinking.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, that's the whole goal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine it starts at home. Look at the level of influence you have on your children because you're their father.
Right. Right. Right.
You know, it takes a long time for a child to understand what was right and what was wrong about their upbringing.
Right.
You know, I tell parents these days, I said, be very careful what you teach, what you do in front of your children, because there's going to come a time where they're going to show you what kind of parent you were without fear of your reaction, your response. See, when I can go to my own house, I can tell you what I really think.
Right.
You know, so the power of influence is real. Some people are more influenced than others. Some people have the power to influence better than others. Ads have shaped my thinking. Depends on the type of ads that appeal. Well, absolutely, that's the goal. You know, you think about your favorite sports franchise. Why? Why are they your favorite sports franchise?
Right.
You know,
That's
why did you vote for Barack Obama?
Right.
Was it because of his policy, or was it because of the color of his skin?
Right.
Was it because you loved him, or because you hated the other guy?
Right. That's a big one too. And I think they play on that. They play on that a lot with politics. It seems like now they've been pushing the more, you know, this is why you should hate this dude. You know,
well, people are doing research now because the truth is we have two boneheads running for president.
Right.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize. Lord, forgive me. I didn't mean to call them boneheads. I apologize. We have two idiots running. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
oh.
I apologize. I'm sorry. Lord,
okay, so but let me ask y'all this. Real talk. So how do we push up the more and you know, there's never a perfect candidate, but someone that has more of a stable platform into, like, even when, and I know what you're going to probably, Pastor, you know, it comes locally and you gotta vote the right people in from the beginning, and they gotta get to the top in a sense. But some kind of have the ability and the financial ability to kind of jump in and be at the top, right? Or there are other parties to vote for. How do we start propping up the most viable candidates?
Well, I think it all boils down to how much skin you want to put in the game. You know, most people settle and make a choice because they don't really have any skin in the game, right? You know, if you really want to push someone, go all the way in. If you're really wanting to push someone's agenda, you have to get behind it. You have to become a voice for them, and you have to be willing to take the loss. Right. Miami Heat completely demolished everybody in their path. They did the unthinkable in getting to the NBA Finals this year. No one expected them to be there. They were a fifth seed. And they beat the team with the best record in the NBA, who were expected to be in the finals. They shocked the world. And then they got to the finals and they lost. So what does that do to the mindset, especially after you beat the Lakers twice, but you lose in the finals? What does it do to your mindset? Do you quit and say, you know what, I tried and that's it? Or do you go back and say, I got that close and next year I can get all the way?
What
is your position? What does that experience do for you? There's two ways of looking at it, right?
Yeah.
Someone will walk away and say, well, we'll never see them again. Others will say, wow, that's just the beginning. It's all about perspective. And so if every sports station said because they lost, they should trade Jimmy Butler, who was the catalyst for their success.
Right.
And the team responds to the rhetoric, and they trade Jimmy Butler, right, for someone less than him and rebuild, then it's going to take them another 10 years to get back to where they are. Or they keep the catalyst and bring in some more help. Right. But whoever wins the argument sets the tone for what their next decision will be.
You're right.
Right?
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I got folks over in my watch party. Dr. Sims is over there. Cherish all you guys that are in my watch party. Come over to the group page. That way your comments is being will be read over here, because I see your comments, but I can't read them on my watch party. So if you want to, come on to the Buzz the Legacy group page. Pop them over there.
I'm giving a combo.
Okay.
So I guess in that situation is about perspective and sticking to what you know will work, and not allowing outside rhetoric, those that are not even in the game, to decide what you do.
Right.
I think sometimes the popular opinion ain't always the right opinion.
Yeah. Real quick, we were talking about ads and making a difference earlier a little while ago. And I don't know if you guys have seen the new Nike ad they did with for the Lakers winning the championship.
Wow.
No. And there's a Kobe ad. And I watched this ad the other night. During it had me in tears, first of all. Secondly, I wanted to go buy a pair of Nikes after that commercial. I mean, and those guys at Nike they're perfect. Nike started this whole marketing biz, and they perfected it, rather than they started. They perfected it. And I was like, it was a good commercial. It was a good commercial. It was about Kobe. And
well, when I was 7,
yeah.
Anytime I got a brand new pair of tennis shoes, I wanted to race.
Right.
Yeah. Me too.
But like, oh yeah, I can beat you now.
For some reason,
brand new.
I got those new shoes.
See, that was the difference between y'all up in Kankakee, up in the city, and us country boys, because we took our shoes off the race. In the street.
Speak for yourself.
I learned that. I'll never forget the first time I raced bare feet, and I was like, wait a minute, I can actually run faster.
You get more grip. You got a little more grip on the ground.
Yeah, but I didn't like the effect it had on the impact it had on my feet.
Right. Oh yeah.
Facts.
I got tender feet. I could never run barefoot. Never.
Tenderfoot. You can tell you country because you use that term, your old tenderfoot.
It's like tenderhead. Tenderhead too.
But Pastor, you when I was trying to get right, I heard you make a statement about the intel analysts and how the military train us in certain ways. I was an intel analyst, and I was an intel analyst instructor for about 8 years. You're absolutely right. Everything, well, not everything, but there's a huge part of our training that deals with a person, stuff that you can't get from pictures that you take from a plane 30,000 feet in the air, stuff that you can't get from intercept radio or phone call conversations, and it's that human element. And that's why if everybody remember when we went into Iraq and Afghanistan, probably around 2004, 2005, you had the huge campaign that started talking about 2 words, and it was hearts and minds. It was like, we got to win the hearts and mind. We got to win the hearts and mind. And that's because it's all, look, there's things in the military that are dedicated to this type. Have you ever heard of psychological operations, AKA PSYOPs? Right. Like, it literally is just like that. It goes from, hey, let us drop 30,000 pamphlets over this town that says, I'm just going to make up a name, that ISIS is going to be the end of you, and they're not going to stop until every last one of you are dead, and we're your only hope. We got medical triage, we got this, all the things that they're missing. I'm pretty sure we still see it today. That's why there's such a fear of communism in America.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a communist, but there's a fear of communism in America. The red threat, the communist China, Russia. Why do you think Russia and China and Vietnam are enemies in the heads of most Americans?
Right.
It's not because they literally want to kill you. They may be a handful that do, but they are an enemy because the government has told you in so many ways they're an enemy, and it's so elaborate and intricate that it just doesn't stop at that. But look at movies. What do you think Captain America was created for?
Right. Right.
Has anybody ever thought about that? He was created,
Yes.
and he fought the Nazis
Right.
during World War II because America needed a hero and something to boost her support and everything else. And matter of fact, a lot of superheroes come from that vein.
Yeah.
But we see it time and time again. When I worked in Korea, North Korea is like literally there's a portion of the border where you can walk into Panmunjom on the South Korean side of the border, and there's a building where they actually did the peace talks in the 50s, and the building is half in South Korea, half in North Korea. Well, when you're standing on the South Korean side and you look over, it looks like this huge cathedral-like federal building, for lack of a better term, on the North Korean side. And it looks like everything is grand and that they're balling.
Right. Right.
But the building is only 10 feet thick. And the building is 10 feet thick because it gives the appearance of being something that it's not. So anybody looking from the South Korean side, they see this huge architectural work of genius when it's actually probably a tenth of the price and not as expensive as you would think. There's complete cities in the north that nobody lives in, but they would be all American cities if they were here, right?
Yeah.
And they bust North Korean soldiers in during the night to turn these lights on. They'll bring them in during the day to cut the grass and they'll walk throughout. Nobody lives there, but it looks like an amazing city on the outside. It's all because of the optics and the bias, and people have been playing on this all the time. And the American public right now is no different. You got people looking at the optics and they forget all the negative things that you could say about President Donald Trump, Pastor. And what they say is, well, we got jobs now. Well, this is down now. Well, we're not doing this now. And they fail to see the things that are right there in front of your face. White supremacy still has yet to be condemned. I'm not going to go into this detail, and I'm going to skirt the situation, and I'm going to make a comment that everybody can rally around. Why aren't we patriotic? Right. It had nothing to do with the flag, Cap.
Right.
Everybody knew it had nothing to do, but the moment he opened his mouth, bias starts seeping in. Just make it patriotic from a person who's never served. Make it patriotic from a person who say these some dummies and bozos. Make it patriotic from a person who doesn't realize how the flag is supposed to be packaged anyway. And that's the environment that we're in right now. You look at MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, they're all full of biases to their targeted audiences. That becomes the issue when bias is present and there's no truth.
Right.
Or when bias is present when the truth is suppressed.
Yeah, I mean that's always true. They just skew it. They just take the truth, and then sometimes it gets skewed. But speaking the truth, tonight at 8:30, the Sisters of Legacy will be in the building. And we're back in the building. All right.
I'll be giving you segues every now and then.
I appreciate it. You're right. I know you finally got in the game. Let's see. Oh, you got to move quicker, brother. You got to be quicker than that. Sorry, we're having some bad conversation. All right. So, Cherry McDonald said it's perspective, and you can tell how closed-minded another is, I guess, and just how they misinterpret the next person. Wolf Sims says, I like CNN. Oh, he said,
Hey, watch this and tell me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna make an assumption that more than likely you vote Democrat. More than likely you are not a liberal, but you probably distaste a lot of Republicans or conservative views outside of the mainstream or the real truth. And the reason I say that is we all have biases, every last one of us, some way, shape, or form. And I can't completely say what I want to say because you didn't say you dislike CNN, or Fox News, I'm sorry, but CNN is generally an opposite biased or a different bias than Fox News.
Right.
Okay, so see, and this is where we all have bias. Sometimes those biases are shaped by our experiences. Sometimes those biases are shaped by what we've been what we've been told, and sometimes the biases are shaped by the reality that's so overwhelming in our life that this is what we've come to accept. Right. And I used to tell and I'm glad you brought that up, Pastor, because I used to tell my students all the time, like a simple thing. If you see two people get into a cab together, anyone here, can you assume that they know each other?
Right. No.
You said if two people get into a what now? I'm sorry.
Together.
If two people get into a cab together, do they know each other?
Not necessarily.
No.
Okay, let me change the question up a little bit. If you see two people get into a cab together at 2:00 in the morning in Crenshaw outside of a club that's known to have gang activities, do they know each other?
Not necessarily. Again, I say that because my perspective is different, because I've been to San Francisco and I've been to New York. So I know how easy it is to get into a cab with someone that you don't know because you're going in the same direction.
Right. Now, here's the next question. Would you get into a cab with somebody you don't know at 1:00 in the morning in Crenshaw?
Yep.
For the same, well, first and foremost, I wouldn't be getting out of any building at 1:00 in the morning on Crenshaw.
Let's make that clear, right?
That says a lot about the person.
That ain't happening.
Yeah. At my worst, I wasn't on Crenshaw at 1:00 in the morning.
Right. And I asked that question. And I asked that question because I used to ask it to my students to show them how the exact same situation with different environment and circumstances changes how the optics of something looks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If Mark Cuban gets in that cab at 2 a.m.
I'm driving the
cab. Yeah.
Or if you go back, do you guys remember when Trayvon Martin was demonized for wearing the hoodie?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, if he wouldn't have been wearing a hoodie, he wouldn't have been looked at this way.
Like all the reasons.
Well, that's the bias. I mean, someone inserted that.
Right. Exactly.
Into the narrative, and it became about the hoodie.
Right. Now, what did criminals in America first started wearing? Like the think of away from what they did to us. Okay. Right. Think about the law in America and the criminal element. What did the first criminal in America wear? A suit and tie.
Oh.
when you look at the gangsters and all these mobs and all of these old gangs, they wore suit and ties.
Right. Right.
But you
Yeah,
never
but
get
people also don't know that what the Ku Klux Klan wore or wear on their head is a hoodie.
Right.
oh yeah.
Right. Right. That's true.
And I was just saying that just to show how sometimes when a set people do something,
Right.
how easy it takes. Because sometimes, and I may be wrong, I've ridden through Bankhead early in the morning because traffic was non-existent. So I ain't want to deal with traffic.
Right.
And I'm at a stoplight and I see people who look a certain way.
Right.
My door locked anyway, but I've checked to make sure my door was locked.
Right.
And it's because of what I've been told over the years. Oh,
Right.
you going here?
Right. You're
Pastor is a shining example of how wrong a bias can be.
Right. Right.
Because if he tell you he grew up in the Chicago area, you might think he might got a couple bodies on him. the way the world makes it out. I ain't trying to put the business out there. God forgave you already, Pastor. No, but for real,
We all come from somewhere.
but like that's the reality of it, though. We people tell us what something is,
Right.
and when we believe it at face value.
Right.
We don't do anything about it. We don't do any research about it. I mean, I know too many people from Chicago in Atlanta for Chicago to be as hard for everybody as it is. I ain't saying Chicago's soft, and I ain't saying they ain't killing people, because obviously they are. But it don't mean that everybody from Chicago is a killer.
That's true.
I've been at a Falcon game, well, tailgating, because I refuse to watch that monstrosity of a let me stop. My apologies to anybody from Atlanta. But I've been to a Falcon game, and I had some dude he was popping off at the dude next to him because they were throwing a football and it knocked over his beer. And he was like, "I'm from Chirac, son.
Right.
Right. I'm just like,
oh, listen, yeah.
really?
I'm from Brooklyn, son. Ain't never been to Brooklyn. Well, you from upstate Poughkeepsie, so just like yeah, and that's that perception. And I think, and like you said, and sometimes that bias is pushed by those that just will say anything, So it's you think all of Chicago is violent, but you don't know it's just certain blocks, certain areas, that have issue, but it's not everywhere. And just this is the same as New York. And honestly, like, New York is better than it's been. If you've only been there since the 80s, then yeah, you got a skewed view of what the city of New York looks like now. But it's those biases, they do sit, they do change some things, and they mess up, I think, a lot of, they can mess your judgment up, your decision making when you're stuck in a certain space.
Look what it does with the church and preachers. What about the biases with regards to preachers and taking your money?
Right. Right.
It's horrible to go through that. I was in a parking lot talking to somebody, inviting a young lady to church, and her man was right there. And his man, I don't want to have anything to do with that church. You guys are all crooks. You're just stealing people's money. Right. And he was so adamant. He was so convinced. I was offended.
Wow.
I felt disrespected,
right.
And my flesh was rising up. I'm like, you're so wrong. I want to knock you out.
Wow.
And knock some sense into your head, because that's so foul. I'm like, I can't believe how rigid your stance was with regards to me standing here having a conversation with you all about coming to church and fellowshipping. Right. And for a split second there, I had to catch myself and remind myself that I was representing more than me.
Right.
And that his ignorance had nothing to do with me. Again, how I responded in that instance would make or break that young lady that was standing there with him.
Right.
Because when they got in that car, you could clearly see she did not agree with what his position was.
Right.
But because that was her man, she was going to keep quiet.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so what I don't like is every time someone says, you know, preachers just take your money, because I don't take anybody's money.
No, he doesn't.
But that's not the point.
Right.
The point is, it's none of your business.
Right.
Because you're not giving to the preacher, you're giving to God.
Right.
And so if you see yourself as giving to the man, there is no blessing for you anyway.
Right. Exactly.
Because you're supposed to be giving as unto the Lord. So in a lot of cases, we all have it wrong. I don't have to defend myself, nor do I have to defend any other preacher. What we have to do is educate you on where you're seating.
Right. Right.
We're fighting the wrong battles, you know, and we can't win because we're fighting the wrong battles. So instead of people saying, I don't take people's money, because I'm that dude. I'm like, the church doesn't pay me. My mother's on here. My mother said, you better stop saying that.
Right.
Because if that church wants to put you on salary, you better get the money. Right. Why would you not accept it if you're doing a job, if you're doing a work? And I'm saying to myself, that's not what I got into it for.
Right.
My philosophy is I tithe like anybody else because I work a job.
Right.
My mom says, why wouldn't you receive the blessing from the congregation if that's their desire to do for you?
Right.
Because you're preaching the same Bible that says give a gift in the name of a prophet and receive a prophet's reward. Why would you deny them their blessing?
Right.
Right. So we have to know, we have to have the right information. Right. Biases are effective when people don't do their own research. Biases are effective when you don't have enough information.
Right. All right. So speaking of Solomon's Temple Christian Ministries, tonight at 7 o'clock, we have Solomon's Temple Christian Ministries. Yes.
That's still the baddest commercial ever. I don't care what nobody say.
Cool. Any closing remarks before we get up out of here? Go ahead, Dwayne.
I was just gonna say, when it comes to our lives, I challenge everybody to not reject something because it doesn't, on the surface, mesh with what you believe. Mm-hmm. I think that initially that's our bias and slant and misinformation that puts us in that position to believe the way we believe. So what I say to you is to take the information, to do an unbiased research from multiple sources, from multiple sites, from people who believe similar, people who don't believe the same thing. And then you get all the stories together, and then you take the facts and you remove the opinion and you create your own opinion and you get rid of the bias at the same time. I think we have to do that. I think that's a must.
That's good. And, like, I guess, search from a point of view of finding the truth, and not confirming what you're just hearing, because sometimes when you do when you search it the wrong way, then of course you're going to just find things that are confirming what you already believe in. Try to find things that oppose what you believe, especially in politics. definitely, like, you look things up and you search it on YouTube, of course, and Google and all that great places. Just open your mind to listen. And it's tough sometimes when someone's saying they're coming from an opposite point of view, but you can't deny when it's true. You're like, oh, it hurts because you hear like, oh, I hate it, but they're right, and it's an opposing view. So open your mind, be willing to listen, because there's so much more out there than just two sides. Go ahead, Terry. You want to share something before we bounce?
Yes. I'm just going to say this real quick. Don't ever forget what God has said about you. Don't let what you see in the current deter you.
Right.
Sometimes the blessing on your blessing is on the other side of what you don't want to do. I said this a long time ago. If God says forgive that person, forgive them. If God says do this, do it. Your blessing is on the other side. So I said it to say this, Dwayne.
I like it a lot.
Take that next step and be what God's called you. You know what it is. You know what it was that He gave you. That's like Dwayne said. I think it was Friday and Freestyle Friday is. Let's go for it.
Awesome. So we appreciate you guys rocking with us as you do every single day, Monday through Friday. We come on at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, make sure you share, tag somebody. If you're on the YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like and comment. As well, if you're on the Facebook, make sure you are sharing to other people and connecting. What's up?
Why do you keep putting the in front of those?
It used to be the Facebook. It used to be thefacebook.com. Because I just wonder where they got that from, but it used to be the Facebook. All right, guys. Okay. So appreciate you. So as always, know that the Brothers of Legacy loves you, but God loves you more. Stay safe, stay secure. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same channel. Peace out.
I didn't want to catch that. Good morning. Welcome to another. Good morning.